All right, what's up guys? Well, welcome to what is essentially part 2 of the very dirty 2017 M3 spring cleaning video. I did want to cram all these in one video because I thought that would be a little bit too much. So instead of breaking them up by manufacturer, I got 2 Bilt Hamber, 3 Geon products that all have their own place in the wash process. And today we're focusing on the Bilt Hamber stuff. So if you're watching this, the Geon stuff is already posted. So if you like this video, hang out, watch this one. If you like it, consider subscribing and then go check out the Geon video because some great stuff to talk about there. But again, today we're focusing on Bilt Hamber. So let me get this stuff set up and we'll talk about that and then get to the wash. All right guys, Bilt Hamber products. So I have been looking to try these out for a while. I finally got a chance to order some. Before we get started, quick timeout. I got these from Obsessed Garage. It is worth noting that Obsessed Garage is the exclusive distributor for Bilt Hamber products in North America. So if you were interested in checking these out. Also, I haven't mentioned this in a while, but is worth bringing back up. Always Summer Garage, very proud, very excited to be an affiliate with Obsessed Garage. So check this video out. And if you want to check these products out, we'll have a link in the description below. It supports the channel and I assure you your support is wildly appreciated. So that being said, what are we working with here today? We got touchless and Atom Mac. So touchless is basically a prefoamer. So this is a sugar-based biodegradable prefoamer. Very eco-friendly if you're into that kind of thing. I just did a video recently on some decontamination products. One of them that I used as a prefoamer was the Kokemi Multistar N. So if you saw that video, this is kind of the same vein of that. So in the wash process, if you have anything more than a very mildly dirty car, use something like this as a prefoamer. Put it in your foam cannon, we'll dilute it, we'll get into that in a minute, how the dilution ratio works, because it's a little bit different. But you mix some of this into your foam cannon, foam your car, let it sit for a little bit, a couple of minutes, rinse it off, and then you foam with something like a pH neutral soap and do your contact wash. And so something like this is gonna get the majority of all of that dirt off the paint, off the car, so that your contact wash is gonna be a little gentler. You're not gonna have as much dirt that's actually being made in contact with your wash mat. Next up, probably the thing out of all the products that we're testing across these 2 videos, this is the thing that I am most excited for, the Atom Mac. So this is a rust/corrosion inhibitor. So I don't know about you guys, but there are few things more demoralizing. I think that's, yeah, few things more demoralizing than washing a car, and I don't care if it's a maintenance wash that took you like an hour or a full decon, polish, wax, blah, blah, blah. But there are few things more demoralizing than getting done all of that work only to see your rotors orange with rust that has come back. Like, that drives me crazy. And I know that like the first time you drive the car, your brake pads are gonna make contact with that and most of it's gonna go away, but it still drives me nuts. And so what Atom Mac does is, it's actually a multi-use thing because you actually can spray it on the undercarriage and use that as a corrosion sort of, you know, prohibitor/cleaner for if you live in the Northeast or the Midwest, upper Midwest, and you get snow and road salt and all that kind of crap. But we are using this, we're focusing on this for the rotors to prevent that coming back of that little surface rust that comes back on the rotors after a car wash. So I am super excited to try this out and see how that works. Okay, so before we get into the prefoam for the touchless, we have to figure out our panel impact ratio. So what the hell is panel impact ratio? So if you've done any kind of dilution stuff with detailing products in the past, you're probably used to like something like a 1:10 product ratio. But Bilt Hamber measures it in panel impact ratio, which is a percentage of how much you're gonna dilute. Now for Atom Mac is really, really simple, and we'll get to that when we get to the Atom Mac stage. But for the touchless stuff, it's a little bit more of a pain. The good news is you only have to do this one time. So in order to figure out our panel impact ratio to use as our starting point, which by the way, this, again, we only have to do this one time, and this number you'll use in the future if you ever wanna tweak that ratio, whether a 0.5% all the way up to 2%. The only thing is if you ever change your pressure washer or foam cannon bottle, then you got to do this again. But as long as those 2 things stay consistent, then this is a one-time operation. So I have my foam bottle here filled up to the 1,000 milliliter line with just regular tap water. So we're going to spray this into the bucket. with this valve fully open. So it's pulling up, it's full open valve to pull up product from the actual bottle. So we're gonna spray this until the water in the foam bottle is empty. And once it's empty, then we'll measure the total volume of water in the bucket and then use that as our starting reference point for figuring out the total amount of product in milliliters. You can do this in any measurement, but we're doing milliliters that we actually need to use. So again, spray this until this bottle is empty, measure the amount of water. That is our starting point, and as long as the pressure washer and the foam bottle isn't changed, we never have to do that again. So let's do that real quick. Okay, well this one was a little surprising because it took pretty much the entire 5 gallons in the 5-gallon bucket in order to empty out the 1,000 milliliters in my foam bottle. So good news is that I don't really have to do the conversion because, or at least measure this stuff, because we're just gonna take the milliliter value of a full 5 gallons and use that as our starting value. But of course, your mileage may vary depending on what you're using. But for me, man, dude, all the way open. This is fully open. This was fully open. And yeah, man, it took every bit of 5 gallons in order to empty this. So that is gonna be my starting number. It took 18,927 milliliters of water, pretty much the entire foam cannon bottle, to fill up this bucket. And I'm gonna dilute, I was gonna dilute at 2%, but like, now I think I'm gonna do 1%. Let's do 1% on this one. For a 1% panel impact ratio with touchless, I'm gonna use 190 milliliters of product, which will then give me 810 milliliters of water in my foam cannon. Just maybe a tad more. Got my 190 milliliters of product to 810 milliliters of water real quick, by the way. I was a little unsure about that number with the bucket because, again, I wasn't expecting it to take the full 5-gallon bucket in order to empty out the foam cannon. So fortunately, because I have another exact PF22 foam cannon that I use for wheels, I ran the test again and I got the exact same result. So with an active 2.3 and the PF22 foam cannon and maybe the pressure of the water and everything else, it really did take the full 5-gallon bucket to empty this out. So for anybody else in a similar situation, 18,927 milliliters of water. So, all right, let's go get this thing cleaned up. All right, so let's see how we did here. So first up, there wasn't a whole lot for bugs in the front, but what little bit was there, that's gone now. Not as bad as like in the summertime, but you know, still, it's spring, they're starting to come out. But it took care of those. But what I really wanted to check out was the little bit of tar or rubber here. And I can still see just a little bit of trace of it. But I mean, that's pretty diminished. And again, this wasn't diluted, or this was diluted more than we could have gone for. So what I'm saying, I could have made it stronger, but I kind of went a little bit on the easier side. But yeah, that's not bad. I mean, that is definitely diminished, and that the rest of that will come off with a contact wash. So pretty good there. This is another area that's always really bad right here on the little fender. A lot of that looks like it was taken care of. Pretty good. Also, all along the sills here, those get super dirty. But yeah, man, this stuff looks like it was pretty effective. Another thing, wanted to check in on the cap. So if you guys saw the decontamination wash video I did last time, the multi-star N ripped up some of the paint of my custom painted cap here. Still got to fix that, but it didn't add to the carnage. So if you've got delicate surfaces, delicate painted or spray painted really surfaces, the touchless isn't going to affect that, it seems, which is nice. All that came off. That looks pretty good. So far, man, this stuff is not bad. Not bad at all. All right, time to set up for the Atomac. Now, fortunately, figuring out this panel impact ratio is a lot easier because you don't have to put water through foam cannons and all that stuff. So all we're gonna do is take the bottle that you're gonna use. So this is a 1,000 milliliter bottle. Figure out how much you wanna dilute it. So Atomac can be diluted anywhere from 2 to 5%. The lower the number, the less product you're gonna use. So I'm gonna go with 2% just because that was the number that I saw recommended on Obsessed Garage's website. So I'll use that as my starting point. So again, 1,000 milliliter bottle times 0.02% is gonna give us 20 milliliters of product to 980 milliliters of water. So super easy. All right, let's shake this up. For what is essentially a rust and corrosion inhibitor, it doesn't smell as bad as I thought it was going to. It's not unpleasant. I don't know, just worth noting. All right, so 10, 20, oof, that's like hardly any product. That is 20 milliliters of product, right? That, I mean, you figure in a spray bottle, this is gonna give me a lot of use. So I would note ahead of time that, you know, I don't know how big is this bottle? 1 liter? So dude, this is gonna last a while. All right, so here is our 20 milliliters of product and 980 milliliters of water. And by the way, heads up real quick, if you are diluting anything for long-term storage in a spray bottle, not a bad idea to pick up some distilled water. So I get this every once in a while. I'll pick up some of these. Technically, if you have deionizing tanks, you can just use that because that is filtered water. But nonetheless, distilled water, always a good idea. Again, for anything that you're gonna put in a spray bottle for long-term storage, just so that you don't have the minerals in spring water or tap water or anything like that interfering with the chemicals of your product. All right, so time to test out the Atomac. Okay, so it's at this point in the editing process that I discovered that my camera apparently decided to take a little bit of a smoke break because it stopped recording right about here. So let me quickly recap what was lost, and then we'll jump back into the video when things were working again. So I came to start testing the Atomac only to find that rust had already started to reappear on the rotors. So I figure I'd done all the wheels, and then washed the car, I was testing a few other things, and it was taking longer than normal with the filming and talking and so on and so forth. So it was plenty of time for rust to come back on the rotors. So, and I don't know why I thought this was a great idea, but I sprayed the rotor down with some regular water and then applied the Atomac. And of course, to no one's surprise, I came back after it had dried to find that there was still rust on the rotor because at this point, I was essentially applying Atomac to rust that was already on the rotor. So in the spirit of a proper test, since I was testing the Geon wheel cleaner with the iron remover, I sprayed what little bit I had left because I really overused that product while I was testing, but I sprayed what little bit I had left on the rotor, let that dwell for a couple of minutes, rinsed it, looked good, and then applied the Atomac, let that dry, and then here's where we come back to checking out those results. And one other thing I'd point out real quick is that since I was very, very low left on product for the iron remover wheel cleaner, I really didn't get a solid application on the bottom of the rotor. So as I'm showing the results with the Atomac, you'll probably see a couple of spots, a couple of the drill vents on the bottom of the rotor have a little bit of rust on there, but that's not because of the lack of the Atomac, but more so because I just didn't get the proper coverage with the iron remover and the wheel cleaner. So, okay, with that, back to the video. All right, now this is the performance of the Atomac that I was expecting. So chalk this up to improper application. It made sense to me not to apply the Atomac when I was gonna go back and to go forward and wash the entire car and use, different kinds of soaps and everything like that. And I figured that might have disturbed the Atomac on the rotor, but apparently not. So do it right after you clean wheels, not after you're done washing the entire car. All right, so time to wrap up with some final thoughts on the Bilt Hamber stuff. So let's start with the touchless. I thought this did a great job. I mean, as a pre-foamer, again, this stuff is a pH of 12. However, at a 1% panel impact ratio, I thought this did a great job of getting the majority of the surface stuff off the car. Again, with the exception of just that little bit of tar or rubber, whatever, that was on the paint in those couple of spots. Everything else, like I said, it just ripped off the paint. And then when I went back and did the contact wash, you know, whatever didn't get off for that tar or rubber, it did loosen up enough where it was relatively easy with the contact wash to get the rest of it off. So really impressive, but yeah, I think that in terms of just performance and even at not that max strength, this stuff did really, really well. So super pleased with this, and I will probably default to this. I still do at some point maybe want to try the Kokemi Super Foam, which I think this stuff is on par with in terms of pH strength. But yeah, I think this might be my go-to for any kind of a pre-foamer from now on. Just really happy with the performance of it, and it was easy to rinse off too. That's another thing. So I mentioned this I think with the decontamination video, but like I still have like the Obsessed Garage decontamination soap, and that stuff works phenomenally. My only gripe with it is that it's really difficult to get all of it rinsed off your car. Like it just forms like a bond with it. It's just really, really thick. In terms of a rinse, I actually thought this was a little bit closer to like a CarPro Lift. So when you rinse it off, you can still see like a little tiny film of stuff left over, but as you come back and do that next pass, it just comes right off. So really easy to rinse off and super effective. So I'm a fan. Okay, now the Atom Mac. So had a little bit of a hiccup with applying this, of course. I did it wrong the first time. And like I said, I think I went through this already, but when you are applying this stuff, do it immediately after cleaning the wheel. Don't wait until the entire car is done. And again, the reason that I didn't do that was because I thought perhaps with the, you know, the pH of the snow foam or anything like, or the pre-wash, this stuff, that I thought it might disturb it as you're going over, because I don't avoid the wheels whenever I'm using a foam cannon for a pre-wash or the foam cannon for the contact wash. So I just kind of thought that might have disrupted, you know, the Atom Mac on the rotors, but probably not. So we'll be keeping this stuff on hand. And not to mention that, but like you use so little of it. Like this is this a 1 liter bottle? Yeah, it's a 1 liter bottle. I used 20 milliliters of this stuff in a 1,000 milliliter spray bottle. So you've got plenty of this stuff. It's gonna last a really long time. So that coupled with the performance, it is a keeper. So anyway, okay, that is it for the Bilt Hamber stuff. I love both of these products. I will definitely be buying more when they run out. I will leave links to these in the description below. You can get them from Obsessed Garage. And in the meantime, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching.